Welcome aboard, Avalanche fans, to this Wednesday edition of Locked On Avalanche. I am Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. On today's episode, I got a listener direct message to kind of rank, the way we're going to do it is rank our top 5 home games for this year. And there's a reason behind why we're doing that home games specifically. We'll talk about that. The Athletic came out, well, actually, Chris Pronman from The Athletic specifically does a under 23 ranking every year, and he released this year's. There's 3 Avalanche players on there. We'll talk about them. Are they seated appropriately? Are they not? We'll talk about that. And we have been talking about the potential Avalanche reverse retro. I think we're finally going to have time to talk about it. It's been out for maybe about a week or so, maybe a little bit longer, but we have not had time to talk about it. So I tease that now, and this will probably be like late night with Jimmy Kimmel, who just never gets to Matt Damon. Who knows? Hopefully we can get to it. Let's get to it.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody. Welcome again to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. You can follow us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, opinions, go to lockedonavalanche@gmail.com and follow us on our YouTube channel over on the YouTube. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. All right, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, we'll jump right into it. I got a message, and I want to give him credit for it. Chris Dom, I believe is how you say his last name. I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong. But he sent this message. He said, love the podcast. Here's a episode segment idea. Many of us are about to, quote unquote, draft our season ticket shares. So maybe rank the 2022, 2023 home games. And he says, keep up the great work. So first of all, thank you for listening, Chris. Great name, by the way. And yeah, like a lot of people do this. Like, what was that movie with Jimmy Fallon? The Red Sox, was that Fever Pitch?
Yeah.
I think my wife loves that movie.
I don't think I've ever seen it
no, it's actually a good movie, and being somewhat of a Yankee fan, I don't really like the Red Sox that much, so I didn't want to watch the movie just out of spite. But she kind of forced me to watch it once, and it's actually a pretty good movie. And they do that. They do something similar to that in that movie where they get their season tickets. I don't know how many of them there are, but they basically have a fantasy draft of their season tickets, and they pick which ones they want, where they want to go. And a lot of people do that because season tickets are expensive. And when you get a handful of guys or girls to pitch in, you kind of, sit down and divvy them up and say, these are the games I want to go to. If there's a dispute, I don't know how maybe there's different ways to settle the dispute.
Combat sports.
I like that. That's the only way to settle dispute. So we're not going to rank every, all 41 home games. Well, there's less than that because of the, because of the series in Finland. So there's one less home game. But what we'll do is we'll rank our top 5. We probably have some similar ones in the top 5, so it will kind of give you an idea of maybe go after those ones specifically. Between all of those games available, we can jump right into that. We'll go from 5 to 1 on if we had season tickets and we were doing this. Which games would we want for our top 5? So start at number 5. Which one would you have?
I have the December 9th game against the New York Rangers.
Nice.
Solely because this is what, for at least 2 or 3 games, what we are anticipating the Stanley Cup to look like. And for those that were banking on the Rangers closing out the Lightning last year, this is your chance of seeing that Stanley Cup final. So I think this would be a good game to sit down in Ball Arena and watch.
I was very close to putting a Ranger game on there for some similar reasons, an original 6 team. Yeah, like a team that's young and up and coming. I was really considering them, but it's so funny. The things that you just mentioned about why you would have Rangers at number 5 is the same exact reason I have the Maple Leafs at number 5.
Interesting.
Because you want to kind of try to guess if the Avalanche are, lucky enough to go back to the Stanley Cup final, what would the matchup be? And I know everybody is like, oh, Maple Leafs suck. Maple Leafs will never win it again. They'll never get out of the first round. Well, they were saying that about the Avalanche, so they never get out of the second round either. And look what happened. Like, it's going to happen. The Maple Leafs are too good of a team to continue this. I know it's so easy to say, like, well, they haven't done it yet, and that is so true. But it's very possible that this could be the year, and it's very possible that both those teams could be back in the Stanley Cup final. So if you want to try to get like your prediction or the matchup that could be a Stanley Cup final, I would go Maple Leafs as the 5th game that I would go to.
Yeah, to quote the great philosopher Batman, everything is impossible until somebody does it.
Exactly. That's a wonderful saying, Batman. Was that in one of the movies or was that in one of the comics?
The comics.
Ooh, I like that. Frame that. Put that on that wall of doom back there, man.
Funny you say that. It is framed.
It is. Should have known. By the way, that Maple Leafs game is December 31st. So, and then the Ranger game you were talking about is also in December. So there's 2 December games. All right, who you got for number 4?
This one's semi-selfish. It is a day before my birthday.
Okay.
January 16th, Detroit. It's that 1 p.m. Mountain game. I believe this is a Martin Luther King Jr. game.
Well, what's your birthday?
January 17th.
Then it probably is. Yeah, it's right around there. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's I mean, it's one of those afternoon games, old school rival. Like, afternoon games are fun, especially like right to start your week. I think this would be an excellent ticket to get to say, hey, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a holiday for most businesses. So it's number 4. This would be it's a unique thing. You don't get these type of games often. So if you get the chance to do it.
I like where you have that slotted because it's no longer like your number 1 circled on the calendar game between these two. But we've talked about this. We talked about this not that long ago. Like, it's not what it was, but there'll always be a little bit of that glimmer of Avs Red Wings. You're not going to go into it with the expectation that it's going to be, goalie fight anymore. But there's still some people that hold on to that classic rivalry. So I think having it, a little bit lower down on the list of just a classic game between classic teams to go to, I think is a one that you would look forward to. It's no longer, like I said, no longer one that you circle, but you notice it on the calendar and kind of maybe you don't circle it, but you point to it.
Yep.
Like, oh, there it is. There's that Red Wing game. So I like that. For me, for number 4, they play them twice at home, but I'm specifically picking the one on April 11th because it's the second to last game of the season, and that's against the Edmonton Oilers. You have, whenever Connor McDavid comes to town, that alone is a ticket you want to pick up just to see, the McKinnon-McDavid matchup. But seeing as it's the second to last game of the year, there could be a lot riding on that as well for both teams. We're expecting both of them to be in the playoffs, so it could have a big meaning for seeding. And I don't think it's going to be one of those games that's a throwaway game this year because I think the Avs are going to be in a fight for the Central. And the Oilers might be in a fight for the Pacific. You never know. So it's the second to last game. So you have all of that. You have the potential of seeding and matchups. It's a great combination right towards the end of the season. That's another one I would pick up.
And it's an opportunity, if it is one of those that the Avalanche do put themselves in a good position and lock up the Central kind of early, you have the potential of seeing the next Ben Myers moment. And there's that group of fans that got to see Ben Myers and say, yeah, I was there for that goal. Who knows what that story is going to look like, but you have that moment. You also have that opportunity with it being the second to last game.
And that is obviously the latest game I have of the season. And, for selfish reasons, you could be waiting on some Avalanche players to maybe hit some milestones during the end of the regular season. Like maybe McKinnon finally getting to that century mark. He might have it locked up by then. You never know, but just another thing. There's so many things that could happen in late season games, and that could be a good one to go to. So what do you got for number 3?
Opening night, Chicago Blackhawks.
And number 3.
The wait is finally over. The banner is hanging in the rafters. We have the ceremony. Hockey is finally back, baby.
Right. That's a great one, and it's on mine, just not here. Number 3 for me is the rematch with Tampa Bay. That's February 14th. That is Valentine's Day. And, no love lost between those two teams, especially Tampa Bay going to come into they're coming into Denver, and it's not the Stanley Cup final, but you ended their season. You won the Stanley Cup on their ice. There's going to be want to be some retribution on their end. And it's the rematch of the Stanley Cup final from the year before. So why would you not want to go see it? That's the only time they come to town, obviously, being the East Coast team. So I would easily pick that one for number 3. Yeah. What do you got for
I get that. And like the theme of just like the Stanley Cup rematch on Valentine's Day. I mean, how romantic does
There's something to it, right? Yeah. All right. Adds a little touch.
It's beautiful. Way to go, Gary Bettman.
Right. Number 2. What do you got?
November 14th.
November 14th. Okay.
The St. Louis Blues.
Okay.
They come knocking on the door in Denver. I feel like that they're going to be a problem. And it might not just be talent alone. I feel like there's a grudge, and it's been building over the last couple of years. I feel like this is the year that it kind of like comes to a head and they become an issue. Like Vegas type levels, Minnesota type levels, Detroit type levels. This is the year St. Louis's arrival.
I don't have the schedule right in front of me. I don't know if you do or not. What's the latest they play between the Avs and the Blues in Colorado? Obviously, if you can look that up, because I think that's the first time that they play each other. If it's early November, yeah, it probably is. But I'm thinking like, what's the last game in Denver between those two? If it's a little bit later in the season, if it's like March, that's a game I would want to go to, because you kind of know where you sit. Again, another thing with seeding, it's no guarantee the Avs are going to be in first place if it's later in the season. That could be a game that they need to win to a huge 2 points that they're going to need. Depends on just when they're playing that game.
You got them again on January 29th. That's it. They don't play any later than that in Ball Arena. So
that's not. Yeah, it's a little bit more than halfway through the season. So then why not? Then why not watch the first game between the two of them? Yeah.
The freshest you're going to get them.
Yeah.
And that second matchup, it's not dipping into the trade deadline hype yet. So I feel like that first matchup, they haven't forgotten how last season ended.
Yeah, and that's another one. It's another how. I mean, yeah, winning the Stanley Cup is great, but that final, or to send them home and to send the Avalanche advancing.
Some may say that was the hardest step in the entire journey. Was that St. Louis series?
It really could have been. Number 2 for me is 2 days before my birthday, on February 25th, and that's Calgary Flames. Kadri comes back to town, and there's really not much else in it. That's going to be an emotional day for him. The crowd is going to be going crazy. As soon as the puck drops, though, it's all bets are off, and you're rooting against him in the Flames. But that is going to be a really nice celebration and remembrance of his time in Colorado. That's going to be a really good moment.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that little video package they put together.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. A good one. What do you got? So we're at number 1. Who you got for number 1?
March 29th.
Which would be?
Minnesota.
A Minnesota game? Yeah, you can't go wrong with a
A
Minnesota game.
Minnesota game in March. This is right around trade deadline, like where things matter. And I feel like this matchup is going to be one of those that's going to be one of those things we point to when the playoffs roll around. You remember how we played against Minnesota in Ball Arena? I have a feeling there's going to be some storylines coming out of this that'll carry into the postseason.
Yeah. You can't go wrong between those two. Always an excellent matchup. This is good because the only one that we had
I know.
the same is the opener. And I put the opener at number 1. I just it's just going to be a carryover. The fans haven't had a chance to celebrate that. Well, I was going to say like with the team. Yeah, they have during like the parade and stuff like that. But in Ball Arena, like you won it on away ice. So to be able to celebrate in the arena with that team, the cup is going to be there, watching the banner go up. It's not a moment that is ever guaranteed. So I can't wait to see that. So if somehow, some way, like I don't know how those things work. I don't know if it's like a fantasy draft and you have like number 1 pick. That would be mine to see that in person for the first time in 21 years. Would be epic. It would be absolutely amazing.
Maybe I'm in Nathan McKinnon mode where I'm like, all right, next season.
You're already onto it.
I'm looking at the
you know what?
narrative coming out of March games.
Yeah, no. Once, like I said, like once the puck drops, we're going to be defending champions all season long, but that's over. Like I can celebrate this right up until that puck drops. The moment that puck hits the ice, all right, we've moved on. Yeah. But that celebration is going to be something special. So get to those games. That's good. I'm glad that I thought we were going to have a couple layovers, but only the one. So you really got 9 games for you to choose from to go to. So I'm interested to know what he gets specifically. But if anybody else does this, or if you were to do this, which games would you want? Number 1, 2, 3, however, let's rank them. If you want to rank all 40 and 41, if you're going to Finland, rank them. I want to know. All right, let's hear from Bet Online, and then we're going to get into this Athletic article about the under 23 players with 3 Avalanche players on that list. But first, betonline.net. Of course, it's your number 1 source for all of your pro and college football betting needs and sports info this season. We got college football underway. How's Auburn looking this year, my friend?
Next question.
Really? What's going on with that? Like, this is too long that they've been kind of insignificant.
It's their boosters and who they have behind the scenes. Auburn will never be good at football. They're a basketball school now.
Don't say that. All right. But find all the latest football league developments, I guess not Auburn, game matchup news and podcasts, including this year's opening week's games. Bet Online is your continued source for all of your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all of your favorite sports and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, golf, and what is it?
The way you settle draft for your season tickets. It's combat sports.
The combat sports. The only way to settle it. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in the action. BetOnline.net, where the game starts. All right, The Athletic. If you do subscribe to it, great. If you don't, they're running a special. It's like $1 a month, which is a steal. Normal subscription for a year is like $75 for the year. They do really good. I think they're probably like my favorite outlet for sports journalism. Although the cost is a little bit high. But they come out with things like this. They do a ranking. This is Chris Pronman, who's one of their writers. He's been doing this for a handful of years, where he ranks the under 23 players, age 23 and under. So his rankings for this year are out, and he's got, I think there's like 160 of them on here. So it's not just like a top 10 list or anything like that. So if this was a podcast, this would be a season's worth of podcast episodes. So he's got 3 Avalanche on. Well, first of all, I'm sure everybody wants to know who number 1 is. Number 1 is Jack Hughes. And don't think that's really debatable. If you ask me, I think we are both big Jack Hughes fans. I've grown to like the guy. I love his personality. I think this year he's really going to kind of really take off as long as he can stay healthy. That's always been the rub on him so far. He is number 1. Mo Sider is number 2. Your boy Trevor Zegras is number 3. Quinn Hughes is number 4. Brady Tkachuk is number 5. So that's your top 5. All right. The first player to show up here on the Avalanche is Bowen Byram. And Byram is at number 18. So they give you a rank rating on his skating, puck skills, hockey sense, his compete level, and his shots. For Byram, his skating, they say, is high end, which it absolutely is. His puck skills are NHL average. His hockey sense is NHL average. His compete is above NHL average. And his shot is above NHL average. And they say Byram missed a large chunk of the season due to his concussion symptoms, but when healthy, he's extremely impressive and played big minutes in the playoffs during Colorado's run. His skating is outstanding. He has high-end edge work and with good speed. He can evade pressure so well at both ends and dances on the offensive blue line. Byram has good offensive touch and sense with the puck, but it's his feet that drives the offense. He doesn't shy away from physical play defensively. And with his skating, once he matures, he projects to become a shutdown defender. The big thing with Byram is staying healthy. If he does, he's a top paired defenseman all day with a chance to become a true NHL star. I don't disagree with any of that. My issue is the number that he's at. I'm not saying right now, because Bowen Byram has looked good. We haven't seen the best Bowen Byram yet, and the concussions played a massive role in preventing us from seeing that and preventing him from being that. We all think he will be that. Probably we're going to see if, and again, if he stays healthy. I hate saying that because that goes true for any athlete, but we could really see it from him. My issue is the guys you have above him. Here's the 4 guys above him. Logan Cooley, drafted this year. Right? Shane Wright, drafted this year. At 15, I haven't even got this guy's pronunciation down of the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Slavkovsky, I believe it is. He was drafted this year. And then above that, Matty Beniers, drafted last year. You have 4 guys that haven't touched the ice that are ahead of Bowen Byram right now. How are you justifying that?
Yeah, and it's twofold. To put Bo at 18 and start it out with your first sentence talking about the large chunk of games that he missed due to the concussion. And you mentioned there are 3 Avalanche also on this list, and we're talking about Bo at 18.
Yeah.
It's weird that you have players that haven't touched the ice above Bo, but players who have touched more ice than Bo be ranked below him.
Let's see. I went down. Let me see. So he's at 18. Yeah,
I'm going to be giving that wheel on your mouse a workout to find the next Avalanche player.
Well, I'm looking right after Byram is Evan Bouchard. And then at 20 is Owen Power. It's just I'm not so worried about those guys, but I kind of just feel if you have Byram at 18, you have 4 guys ahead of him that haven't touched NHL ice. I don't know. I would at least put Byram above those guys, and I would be okay with that. You put Bowen Byram at like 14, fine. And then you do this again next year. If he has a solid year, he's going to be in the top 10.
And it's still just, it doesn't sit well with me. I don't know still at this moment sitting here. I still don't know how I feel about Bo.
Really?
Were
you talking about the health concerns or?
Yes.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm with you there, man. Yeah.
Because the last thing I want to do is buy into the Bo hype, get the jersey, and then he goes out the next night and that's it. Because it's going to be the next one.
I mean, we were saying it all throughout the year. Just take the year off. He's not built that way, and he didn't. And I thought he was great in the postseason.
Yeah,
But yeah, man, like, I gotta say, like, there were times where I forgot about the concussion
it's true.
stuff because he had racked some games together and was playing very well. But you do have to remember that, man. So, and on the other end, someone who's been dealing with concussions his entire career is Sidney Crosby. I'm not saying Bo Byram's going to be against Sidney Crosby. I'm just saying, like, he had concussion problems early on. He has been able to put together pretty darn good career with early career concussion syndrome. And now Byram's in that camp. So yeah, you always have to be cautious of it. But if he can overcome it, he's flying up this list.
Easily.
Yeah. You got to go down to number 57 to get to the next Avalanche player, and that's Alex Newhook. They have his skating at above average, and then everything else, his puck skills, hockey sense, and compete level. Or excuse me, his puck skills and hockey sense are NHL average. His compete is above NHL average. The analysis on him: Alex Newhook had a strong first pro season, playing up most of the year on the Avs and being part of their Stanley Cup run. Newhook brings a ton of speed and energy. He's got a quick twitch skating stride that allows him to explode up the ice. He combined that with a strong offensive creativity with the puck. Newhook lacks size, but he plays hard and doesn't shy away from contact. As he matures physically, I expect him to become a quality top six forward and could see him play the middle potentially as well. I think it's the same with Newhook. Like, I think, if we can get a solid season from him, I feel like both of these ratings for these guys are just because we haven't seen what we know they can do yet.
Yeah.
And same thing goes with Newhook. If he can be that guy, we keep saying who's the 2C. If it's him and he holds on to it all season long and he has a solid season, he has good stats, he's a big part of their power play. He's another guy that flies up this list next year.
Easily, because I feel like this is the year that Newhook finally finds his place with the team. He's operated so far off talent alone. He hasn't had a place or a role, and I feel like he finds it this season with this team.
I hope so. I mean, I'm definitely rooting for the guy. So we'll see. I want to take a snapshot of this and remember where they are, and then if they have a really good season, where they're going.
I'll tattoo it on my ankle.
After every year, just add the number of where they are until they turn 24. But maybe the one we'll be watching most is Oskar Ollauson. And he is all the way down at 168. This list goes to 170. So there's only a couple of guys beyond him. And I was really kind of struck by what the analysis is. First of all, they have his skating, his puck sense, and his hockey sense as NHL average, his compete level as below NHL average, and his shot above NHL average. The analysis on him: Ollauson had a rough first season in North America, scoring under a point per game in the OHL. I still saw good games from him at times. He looked like a first-round pick. He has great individual skills, can make plays, and can shoot the puck like a pro. It's the stuff he does without the puck that is the main concern. Ollauson's game lacks energy and pace, even though he's a good skater, and he sticks to the perimeters too much. I still see enough talent there that I think he'll make it as a top 9 winger, but I can't say I feel overly confident about it. That's the line that shocked me a little bit. Because you're hearing the Avalanche have a lot of expectations for Oskar Ollauson. Yes, the one rub on him has always been he's not. I mean, what's his height? He's 6'1", so that's fine. But he's like 170 pounds.
Yeah.
For a 6'1" guy, that is thin. Maybe he's a little bit more than that now, but that's the one thing. Even I remember reading up on his games and scouting him during the draft. That was the big rub on him, was he's not physical. you can learn some of that as you get older and mature. But if you're not a physical player now, it's not like all of a sudden you're going to turn it on and be Nazem Kadri. Maybe you can be Andre Burakovsky. That would be okay for the Avs.
And to be not physical, it's not a death sentence with the Avalanche.
Right.
Like he's found a good place to play where, like we mentioned with Newhook, you find your role, you're good to go. This isn't a team that asks you to be a 5-tool player. Like if you're going to like Chicago, Buffalo, Vegas, like they want you to do everything. Like Colorado, it's very role driven. There's a lot of role players on this team, and if Oskar can find a place to kind of find a role, I feel like he can thrive, but he's got to have a little bit more energy when it's not all on him.
Yeah, and I think you can get that stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's not like they're done learning and done fine tuning their game. And you don't need every single player in your team to be a physical player. There's enough guys on the Avalanche that will take care of that part of the game. But you do want him to be able to make it through 60 minutes, not completely beaten and battered. You want him to be able to take some hits. I'm not looking for him to throw any. But I think what's going to save him is his offensive ability. It's off the charts. So another guy that I kind of want to see if given the opportunity for next year, if he can go up this list as well. So something to keep an eye
the
on.
numbers, where everybody falls next year is going to be very fascinating.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Last thing we want to get to quickly is like we've been saying, the reverse retros could have been leaked, not the actual uniform, but the logo and the colors. It was put up. There's an intern somewhere over the Fanatic that probably got fired, even though it's free labor. Probably got fired for putting these up on the NHL Shop website. And at first, when I saw this, I'm like, well, that's like the old Colorado Rockies uniform. Maybe it's just a T-shirt because that's all it is. It's just the Rockies logo. It's basically the third jersey now, the triangle with the Colorado C, but different colors. It's yellow, it's lighter blue and red. Just what they used to wear when they were the Colorado Rockies. I saw that and I'm like, well, that might just be a T-shirt that they put up. But there's a handful that went up.
The San Jose Seals was the one I was like, oh, this is a problem.
Yeah. So I think there was like 6 or 7 of them that went up. Okay. But now they're all down. So that is the telling part to me. Yes, I think this is going to be it.
Do you remember last year they all leaked in NHL 22 a week before they dropped in an update, and everybody's like, hey, the reverse retros are in the game. You can go check them out right now.
I think I remember they had like leaked on social media, and then that happened, and that was just like confirmation of like the leak. But this, like, again, we don't have what the jersey looks like, but the fact that all those went up and then all those came down is very telling, as is to say, like, those were not supposed to be up, and now that they're down, I think we can kind of assume it's going to be those Colorado Rockies from the 80s uniforms, which I'm cool with. You're not. Why not?
We have the thirds. It's like, it's the meme.
That's the question.
Yeah,
what are they going to do with the thirds?
It's the memes. It's like, we want a reverse retro. You have a reverse retro at home. Like, that's...
But they're different colors. I mean, like the thirds now have the deep burgundy in them, and the deep blue. There's no yellow in it, and there's no red in it. Like this is.
I don't like it because we are now Detroit of last year that just kind of mailed it in. Like everybody else, you're getting the screaming.
Oh man,
you're getting the screaming eagle. You're getting the fish stick. You're getting the San Jose Seals, like a tribute to the like the Golden Seals. Like, and we're just repackaging our alternates. Like reverse retros, it's something we get to look forward to. It's something we all lost our mind for the Nordiques one.
That was great.
This one is just like, oh, okay, cool.
I kind of like it. Like it's the same, another one that you haven't seen in that color scheme. Yes, like what are they going to do with the third uniforms now? Then you're going to have two uniforms that are kind of similar. The only thing different is the
home
color
and away
scheme.
alternates.
Oh, well, that's the other thing is, are they going to be actually dark? Or are they going to be white? Because some people are throwing around that they are going to be the white uniforms and not the blue, which that would be cool.
That's what they did with Reverse Retro.
They did, yeah.
So.
Not a lot of teams went on the white side. A lot of teams went dark. But I don't know. I'm okay with this. Maybe they had a little bit of flair to it somehow, and it's not just a carbon copy of that uniform. Maybe do something a little bit different. But
if it's got more of the old school logo vibe to it instead of like that very clean, because the Rockies logo had some more kind of freehand jagged to it. This is a very clean Colorado triangle.
Yeah.
So if they go back to that original look, you might win me over, but you got a tall task ahead of you.
I'm interested. I mean, and what they got to do is have like Lanny McDonald come out.
Oh yeah.
Bad boy. I don't know what
synonymous for that jersey.
I don't know if the video is going to be, but I don't want these like young teenage models with these things. I want Lanny McDonald wearing that bad boy. We shall see. I like it. Kyle's a little indifferent right now and wants to see the finished product before he makes an official ruling. But I kind of like the direction they're going with this. So what say you, people of YouTube and social media? Do you like it if they're going this direction, or do you not like it? And that's going to wrap it up for us today. Thank you for tuning in. Looking forward to the comments in the comments section of all our social medias for this one. Because this is I think there's going to be some angst with people with those rankings. But I also want to see what games that you guys will pick as well for your top 5 or your absolute must game. Even if it's one game, if you get given tickets to one game, what would you want it to be? Let's hear what you got to say. All right. Thank you for making this your first listen of the day. That is obviously always appreciated. Make sure to follow us on all our social media outlets. Until next time, he is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast, and we'll see you guys later.